So starting out our adventure, we of course are flying into Baltimore to start our vacation. Of course, you have to take a picture before you board a plane. Of course, Reed cannot get on the plane without studying first because he loves to study. So this was Reed before we got on the plane. He was studying all of his medical stuff that he does. So the very first place we stopped was for breakfast, and I had chocolate chip pancakes. They were amazing. After lunch, I unpacked, and of course my luggage looks like Legally Blonde. But here's a picture of us from last year's vacation in Baltimore and this year's. And after lunch, after we unpacked, we went to the harbor and just did some fun stuff on the Baltimore harbor, which was a lot of fun. We actually got to go up to the hill where the Star Spangled Banner was written. We also went to the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum, which was amazing. This car was rhinestoned. That's, of course, a giant penny, which was so cool. And then, of course, we saw some eggs and a casket made of cigarettes. I guess that tells you not to smoke. I guess it's the message that it's teaching you there. But it was so much fun, and I had a blast. After that, we went on a walk and got ice cream. Starting the morning out on a train, heading into DC. So finally we made it to DC, and the first thing that we're going to be doing is going and getting breakfast. But I love going to DC. It's so beautiful, and all of the buildings are just amazing. The architecture is phenomenal, and I love all the plants and the trees, and the scenery is just wonderful. And there's actually the Capitol building in the distance. Of course, I'm leading the way because that's just kind of my nature, but we're trying to find breakfast. It was kind of difficult. We finally found this cute little breakfast place, and of course I had to get some caffeine and some water because it was really hot. Next, we are going to the Natural History Museum, and I think that's this building right here. There was so much to see in the Natural History Museum. It was absolutely amazing. And there were so many animals that they had. I really didn't like the fact that they stuffed animals, but it was very cool, nevertheless, to see some of these animals. But they had a whole room of just different animals. They had so much to see, I just couldn't get it all on film. This was kind of like their jungle-themed animal room, so it's just different animals from the jungle. It was pretty cool to see. There was actually a leopard that we actually got to see. It was pretty cool. Of course, this is just like the giant center of the museum, and yes, that's an elephant. Really cool is they had the world's largest diamond on display. It's called the Hope's Diamond. Of course, it's every girl's dream to own this. They had such amazing pieces of jewelry in this. I was drooling. Like, look at that. That's absolutely beautiful. I wanted to take all of them home. I'm pretty sure every other girl wanted to take them home too. So, Reed, you should be taking some notes of jewelry that I like that crown right there. They also had different types of rocks on display as well. It was huge. It was so cool, and I really enjoyed looking at all these. Here's just some more pictures of the museum and everything. I just figured that you couldn't just see it on film, like you needed a still image of it. So I love all of these pictures. I love taking pictures, and I love taking collages and making collages too, so I had to make one.
Hi, we're down in the subway station, headed to Shady Grove.
You know what it is? It's like Batman. No, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Now we're taking a subway to Arlington Cemetery, and I couldn't videotape there. It was against the rules, but it was beautiful. We're able to see the Kennedy Memorial, the changing of the guard, and the Lee's home at Arlington. If you've never been, this is definitely a place you need to go. It was amazing. Pictures can't describe how amazing this place is. A truly humbling experience to be able to go and see Arlington Cemetery. Once we were done with that, we are trying to head over now to the American History Museum, which we were kind of lost on our way, but we finally found it. And the American History Museum is amazing. It was so cool to be able to go and look at all of America's history. It was very humbling, and they had such cool exhibits, like the food exhibit, of course. I had to go to the food exhibit because I love food. It was just really cool. You got to experience some of the war and everything. And actually, they had the very first American flag there. And that was a truly humbling thing to look at. Now we're riding in the cab to dinner, and of course you will see the Washington Monument. And it actually started to pour down rain when we were on our way to Georgetown Cupcakes. So I just got pictures of Georgetown Cupcakes, but I love Georgetown Cupcakes. We were on our way to the News Museum, and I saw some pigeons, so of course I had to take video of the pigeons because I'm very weird like that. Here at the museum, it was huge and really amazing. I love news coverage and media, so it was a huge learning experience. They had some of the coolest exhibits, like this is the Berlin Wall. How cool is that? They had different photography from Photographer of the Year, and it was teaching you basically about being a photographer. I mean, they had so many different exhibits. It was amazing to see. Fun fact about Reed, he likes to take about 2 hours per exhibit, which is kind of ridiculous. So you kind of have to push him through each exhibit, otherwise he will literally take up your whole entire day. They also had some different pieces from different terrorist attacks that have happened, which was pretty educational. The place had 7 floors. It was pretty amazing, and in the center of the museum was this glass elevator that we are riding on right now, and it kind of shows you each floor, and literally there was so much stuff in this place. Was so hard to go through everything. It was so educational, so if you guys are in DC, definitely check out the museum. This was another exhibit about photography and kind of what the photographers were thinking when they were taking the pictures. It was really educational, but it kind of showed the dark side of being a photographer and how they really kind of have to take out their emotions when things are going on in the world. I think it'd be really hard to be a professional photographer when you did stuff like this, but they had some really cool pieces. Of course, the museum would not be complete without some Ron Burgundy, so of course they have a bunch of Anchorman things. Had a whole entire section about radio and television and computers, so that was pretty interesting as well. The 9/11 exhibit was probably my favorite. They had a piece of the Pentagon. This was a part of the Twin Towers, the top of it. They had parts from a plane. They had articles all covering to the Twin Towers. It was very educational. I actually see the Capitol building from one of their decks, so we actually got a really cool picture. Next, we were off to the White House. So this is just some extra really cool buildings that we were passing as we were walking. We literally walked everywhere in DC. I can say that we got our exercise in the 2 days that we're there, but we got to see some really cool scenery. Also managed to see the FBI building. So we made it to the White House, and I actually thought it would be a lot bigger than it actually was. Granted, it was made a very long time ago, but I guess movies just make it look a lot bigger than it really is. But all we could see was the front of the White House. This is actually a little black squirrel. And the little girl actually picked the squirrel up. It was really weird. But the White House was beautiful. It's definitely something that you need to see when you're in DC. You could probably see the black squirrel too. Next door is the Eisenhower building, and it was beautiful. So we also went to the Botanical Gardens, I think that's what it's called, but it was so cool. It had so many different plants. It was just really interesting. We actually managed to walk through this in like 15 minutes, which was basically us running through it because I wanted to see it before we had to leave DC and catch a train. But it was so cool. Definitely another place that you need to go see. After that, we made it to the Capitol building, and I probably got my favorite picture here. The next day it was raining, so we basically just kind of hung out, went to the Hard Rock Cafe, and we also got some really interesting candy. So this was the candy store on the harbor. We're back in Baltimore. So on day 5, we had to leave, but we managed to take a dinner cruise around the harbor. This was Fort McHenry from our ship that we were eating on. And then we also have the skyline of the harbor in Baltimore. And we also got a really cool picture on the harbor before we got on our ship. And then we were off to the airport after this. So thank you for watching our trip to Baltimore and DC. And I hope you guys really liked our video and pictures.